um, was was amazing. I basically couldn't see. My glasses were so completely covered. It was dark. I was holding the phone, and not knowing where I was looking, so slipping and sliding everywhere. And then obviously backed it up with a nice big chocolate tea, mate. Beautiful.
Dream, dreamy.
That'll be done. Right. So let's jump on through to the wonderful Facebook group. And was there any questions in there you wanted to alter
No,
anything, or you?
no. Very, very happy. I think it's yeah. I mean, to be honest, I haven't really done much of it in the way of. I just thought it's better to just come out naturally. I think in terms of what what I actually went through and bits like that. So I haven't got a speech prepared or anything. But no, all sounds good.
No, that's absolutely fine. To be honest, Andrew, I think that's exactly how it should be. A little bit off the cuff. So hopefully it'll be it's got to be a bit of entertaining. It's not all completely. It's not. We're not doing a film here. It's got to be a bit
Yeah.
sort of rough around the edges. Right. Okay. So hopefully this should work. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I don't think it's, well, I think there's a little bit of a delay, but there we go. Um, but yes, welcome, Andrew. Thank you very much for joining me. How are you, sir?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well, thank you. Enjoying the cold of London.
Yeah, I mean, we just chatted briefly before, but I think I'm about. Well, what is it there? Is it still minus a bit, or is it okay?
It's about freezing. If it's not much above it. If it's he's back.
Back. Right. Okay. Let's try that again, shall we? Here we go. Hmm. Right. Sorry about that, ladies and gents. The Spanish Wi-Fi is not the best. Let's try that again. Here we go. Right. We will we will crack on before any more wonderful technology issues. So, Andrew, yeah, thank you very much for joining me today. And it was just to get a little bit of an insight, and obviously just to get others aware on the group of how, how the whole thing works, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, really. So, um, what's your name and where do you come from?
Yeah, so I'm Andy Welsh, and obviously we've known each other for a long time. So grew up out in Gibraltar, Spain, and living in London now. And yeah, so got three kids. Sort of all eldest is 5, so it's pretty hectic at home. And then sort of work wise, I split my time between here and out in Gibraltar as well. So sort of quite a lot of travel in life. So yeah, things are pretty busy, which is why we sort of ended up over the years sort of putting on weight and bits like that. And was sort of, when you reached out a few months ago to look at one of your challenges, it really piqued my interest.
Good stuff. Well, glad I'm, my own marketing is doing well. Thank you very much. So, how did you? I suppose first question. I suppose how did you feel about starting online coaching before the sort of the challenge?
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, I've done sort of various bits and pieces around exercise and stuff like that, but obviously, we know each other outside of this anyway, and sort of seen a lot of the stuff that you've been doing, and I think from that point of view, it's pretty easy. I mean, with work now, so much of it's moved into sort of like online meetings. As I say, I live in London, but I work in Gibraltar, so 90% of my day is done virtually. So I don't think it's, for me, it was never a barrier in any way. It's sort of, it's and actually as time went on, as we did it, actually those weekly check-ins to be honest, it's just creating accountability, and it's sort of having that conversation. It doesn't matter whether it's in a gym with you or over the phone or on a video call or whatever it is, it's still there. So yeah, for me it was absolutely fine.
Great to hear. I think a lot of people over COVID, yourself included by the sounds of it, and a lot of people just think, well, as much as we dislike this immensely at the moment, it is kind of a way of life. We can, do things and get on with things and still get results and still work and still speak to people. Yes, it's not quite as good, but it's still, what we want is results at the end of the day. So it's always quite good to be able to do so as well. Okay. I mean, I suppose you kind of answered number two. What made you started working with me? I suppose, obviously, yeah, we've known each other we went to school with each other when we were 9. Good old Worth School back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
For our sins.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, look, it's fair to say that I've been fairly unfit and probably overweight for quite a few years, and so it was just one of those things of I saw you were doing it, saw there were a few other people I knew getting involved as well, and it seemed like a good idea. What can we and actually, I mean, I don't want to preempt any other questions in terms of what it kickstarted and stuff, but it was I think that sort of 5-day challenge really was for me like the start of changing things. So yeah, it doesn't take a big leap of committing to do like a million things to sort of, it's just that little change sort of led on to other things, which was good.
Yeah, I mean, what was your goal when you started out?
Yeah, so I mean, really, I guess a couple of things. One, at a vein level, like so weight loss. Like I was pretty. I've never been skinny. Like I'm a fairly, rotund guy anyway. And over time, with sort of, getting lazy with diet and exercise and everything else, it sort of slowly creeps up on you. So I guess it's just trying to shift some weight, and also just conscious of, the older you get, you don't feel that great all the time. Sometimes when you're, especially when you're tired, like, the kids are keeping you up, and work's busy, and there's a lot to juggle, and sometimes leaves you not feeling that great by the end of the day. So just also interested from that point of view of, can I just losing a bit of weight, doing a bit more exercise, eating a bit more healthily, can I make myself feel a bit better as well? So I guess those are the two goals.
Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense. It's just trying to get things fitting around your lifestyle, by the sounds of it, which I think a lot of people kind of struggle with, especially obviously in your situation with your family, right? Looking after 3 bambinos.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I suppose, what results have you seen in since we started your training on your journey?
Yeah,
not just necessarily kilos wise, but I suppose everything.
Yeah, I mean that's the most obvious one is is the weight shifting off. I've lost like 10 kilos since before that challenge, the 5-day challenge, like which I mean it's amazing. It's great. It feels nice. You see people you haven't seen in a while, and they're like, "Oh, blimey, you've lost some weight," which is good. But just feel a bit lighter as well, obviously, and feel a bit healthier. So yeah, I mean that's the big headline one. But I think I just there's just generally feeling a bit better with some of the mobility, completely unrelated to weight, but like there's a lot of mobility exercises and things like that I've done that have helped, like because I spend most of my day just sat at a desk. So actually my back's given me lots of jip over the years, and doing some of those stretches every day just to loosen things up, I generally feel a bit better. And also been obviously doing some exercise alongside of it, which also sort of makes me just feel generally a bit more a bit freer in the body, and part of it is I've as like I've been got into doing a bit more running again, and that for me has been like an amazing thing of I've got the impetus to do it because I'm eating healthily, and I want to keep going and keep losing the weight, or at least maintain the weight that I've lost, but actually like I feel I really notice the difference in my day of like when I get out and go and do a run, I feel brilliant when I get back, and I'm more productive work-wise and generally. So I think it's made quite there's changes in lots of areas, and not all of them are massive, but overall it's feels pretty different to before.
That's always good to know. I mean, I think obviously like feedback from a coach's point of view, and then being able to obviously tinker with things is hugely important, because not obviously one size fits all. I train some chaps that are early 30s, single lads, and then obviously I train busy dads like yourself who have got full-time jobs, and it's tough, and you've got a lot of plates to spin. So I suppose, how do you feel now in terms of I suppose like what's improved as opposed to maybe sleep, or when we do the biofeedback training in terms of motivation? Do you feel a little bit more galvanized and uplifted to training? What have you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's like the results feed results as well. Of when you lose some weight or you feel a little bit better, then it's like it's real time feedback that what you're doing, the changes that you've made have worked. So, if you feel better, you're like, great, well, I'll do more of this. So, and I think something like definitely with that biofeedback thing of like linking some of the things of if I've had a bad night's sleep because the kids have been up in the night, or one of them's ill or something like that, like I can feel that in the cravings during the day, and it's just sort of keeping a note of that is I built those associations between one thing and the other, which is useful because if it's there, it's sort of like if you suddenly feel hungry, you're like, oh, hang on a sec, I know I'm tired because I didn't sleep that well last night. I'm going to consciously grab an apple or a banana or something like that that's maybe a little bit more healthy than the alternative that I would have gone to before. So it's just like, I don't know, it's that extra like step in your head of decision making. Like I'm doing all this good work, like feeling better as a result of it, and I know that if I have an apple, it's going to make me. It will pick me up a bit. If I'm craving it, it'll take the edge off those cravings. Or there's loads of other tips and tricks that you've given me, sort of to ways of having something sweet that are a bit better for you. That's sort of the protein shakes we've got. You can have the sweet treat that's not actually that. It's not going to kill all the hard work that you've done. Which just as I say, over time, just keeps you on the same path and feeling better.
I suppose that's great. Yeah, I mean it's I suppose getting people for the reality to see that actually when you have a couple of things in place, that it is really it's on paper it looks very simple, but obviously to make it round to a lifestyle and actually execute it is obviously really quite challenging. So kudos to you for being able to do so, because I can only imagine having two nephews that are 1 and 3 when I'm looking after them, what have you, and trying to and all the other chaps that have young kids being able to quarterback it all in between, and just having things that are just convenient for you at the time is hugely important, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's I mean, it's one of those, the kids are always going to be hard work, and it's sort of I know I'm lucky in a way. I'm out of like the worst stage of, my youngest is 18 months, so I'm not in that newborn phase where you're sort of like sometimes walking around like a zombie. But I think a lot of it is like that. It can be done with a bit of routine, and I've got into a routine now where most of the time I can be relatively healthy and fit in the exercise and bits like that, without having to compromise on anything else. So it's just getting into that, this what works for you and your life and your family and everything else. So it's but yeah, the main thing is you just got to have that, that motivation to do it. I think that was the bit for me of like starting it is the hardest bit. Once you start on it and you start seeing results, then it gets a bit easier. And over time you sort of make it fit into your life, and yeah, that's the point that as where I'm at now, where it's sort of actually, one of the big things that started with that first 5-day challenge was the intermittent fasting, which I was like, after 5 days of that, ready to chuck the towel in on that was hard work. But actually, I've been doing it ever since. So it's been sort of 3.5 months of doing that, and it's just what I do now. But it helps me sort of control, what I'm eating and making sure that I've got those big gaps, etc. Yeah, I can hear you.
Can do. Yeah, we're back on.
We're back on. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there.
Fair enough. Yeah, no worries. The wonderful Spanish Wi-Fi. I'm going to go with that. And have you previously tried anything else to achieve your goals? And if so,
sorry, I lost you there. I lost you for a sec.
That's all right. Have you what have you tried before, previously? That's okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So, have you previously tried anything else to achieve your goals? And if so, what is that?
Yeah. So I mean, I have, I've gone through periods of like losing weight in the past, but it's mainly been exercise driven, I think. So if I I've done a marathon or something. So you train for the marathon, and that sort of increase in exercise means you lose some weight, etc. And really, it's all been driven out of that. So any time I've lost weight, I've been doing much more exercise, and then, I mean, inevitably, what normally happens is I get some sort of injury, which means the exercise tails off, and then slowly but surely creep back up to weight wise and everything else. So it's just been finding something that is sustainable has been the really difficult piece. Of like, yes, I can lose weight if I run for 5 miles 3 times a week and do whatever, but actually is that long term, if something comes up and if you're away with work or you're doing something else, it's quite easy to slip out of that. So I guess it's that coming up with something that can work for the long term, which I've struggled with.
And what aspects of our coaching have you enjoyed the most or interest?
Yeah. Well, it's do you know what? I think it's the constant, it's the accountability. That's the biggest thing, I think, that for me, of like, it's if you're accountable to yourself only, it's quite easy just to sort of let it slip. Whereas if I know that I am I've got my weekly check-in in terms of doing the measurements and the photos and bits like that, then I know it's not just me and I can lie to myself. It's I'm sending it, I'm putting it into the into the app, and and you're going to see it, and I know we're going to have a conversation about it a few days later. So that has been it's been really good for me in terms of it's just always there in the back of your head. That I can't, when you get tempted by something, whether it's staying in bed instead of going for a run, or having a slice of chocolate cake or something like that, it's like, well, actually, do I really do I need it? Am I going to miss it tomorrow if I haven't had it? And the answer is always no. So yeah, that's been I think the biggest thing for me.
Because again, I think different people like different methods of coaching. Some people are not sure how it works, and I suppose it's just getting to know the person. We know each other on a personal level, but in terms of what's going to work for you, in terms of structure, I know you like your running obviously over the years. You're going to find producing and making meals obviously very challenging, what have you. So it's just obviously just trying to find those ways that are going to be working for you, as opposed to getting back home and having to do montons of Tupperware boxes to obviously throughout the week. So it's always like little tricks that can always help you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And I suppose, what have you found the most challenging?
What have I found challenging? I think finding the balance, the food balance has been something that's sort of taken time over, and actually it's been like a learning thing, which you've helped with as well, in terms of coming up with something that I can fit into the family life, because the reality is that my wife, like, you finish work, get home, like, done the kids' tea and everything else, and actually by the time the kids are in bed, like, my wife and I just want to have a supper and a chat and maybe watch some TV or something like that. And if I'm trying to serve her something uber healthy, she might not be that keen on it. So it's been trying to find the right mix of getting the food right, to make sure we're having like the portion control and bits like that, which was definitely where I was going wrong before. And finding something that works for all of us, rather than just like we've discussed before, having a poached chicken breast and a steamed broccoli isn't going to cut it for very long with everyone. So yeah, that's probably been the biggest challenge. But I think, again, we've spoken about this before as well. Like, actually, it's having the basics which you gave me in terms of the different methods of the palm, the fist, and the thumb, etc. And actually, then you can just sort of tweak that to make it work for you in terms of what we normally like to eat, and some things that we might have had before that it's making them work for us now. And one of the other things we've done is some of those recipe boxes, where you can choose specific lower calorie options, or meals with ingredients that are going to sort of work with that. And yeah, that's where I sort of got to now, which is I think the biggest realization for me is that the food is more important, I think, than the exercise piece. Which, as I said in the past, like, I've lost weight doing exercise, and then it piles back the diet side of it. By being nailing that, I think, has been the key to losing the weight, rather than sort of doing the exercise.
It's so frustrating, and a lot of people will try and. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, got you back now.
And yeah, I think it's just raised words. Okay. I think a lot of people they think the age-old expression you might hear, and I've heard loads of times, is out training a bad diet. So if you're, you know, doing a 5K run a day, but you're, you know, let's keep it simple. Your input in terms of calories is greater um, than your output of obviously burning calories. Then it's very challenging to be able to get people to understand that it is a lot nutritional based, and then you just feel so much better. You feel a lot less likely to want to eat rubbish after doing exercise. So you're more inclined to keep to doing, you know, eating cleaner, healthier food that you know you're going to get results out of, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I suppose we've, well, in terms of we said that we were trying to get down to, burning 10 kilos off you, losing 10 kilos. What would you say? We discussed it a little bit last week in terms of maybe performance or strength. What would you say your new goals? What sort of new goals do you have? Or would it perhaps be maintenance? Or have you got anything in mind that you want to go towards now?
Yeah, it's something I'm starting to think about now. Like 85 kilos was my big goal when we started, and got down there and a bit past it, which is great. So I guess now it's maybe it's probably not performance. I'm not too interested in upping my PB on running or doing. That's not really what drives me. But there's certainly a vain part of me that would probably like to look a little bit better than I do now. So maybe it's edging that way. In terms, and definitely maintenance as well. It's that's just a big part of making sure that it doesn't, some of the old habits don't creep back in, and I think I've allowed myself to be a bit less strict since I've got down to sort of that target was a weight area. But it's just making sure that on top of it, and things aren't getting back to where they were before.
So I suppose a maintenance level, which is a very lovely level to be at, because you put in some seriously large amounts of hard work and a lot of discipline. And it's great to be able to be like, right, you know what? At the moment, I'm relatively comfortable where I am, but let's face it, you probably still need the accountability to make sure that you're at the top of this roller coaster and loving the sights and the view, shall we say. And then obviously just not wanting to slip back down into sort of bad habits. That'd be fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. It's just making sure I'm staying on top of those things, because I'm also conscious it's only been a few months. So whilst it all feels sustainable now, it's just making sure that sort of goes on for the longer it goes on for, then the more comfortable you feel there.
I mean, just in terms of like sort of sensations, I suppose, you see around sort of like family and friends. Do you feel a little bit more in terms of how you felt, or was it more from how other people saw you, just as a matter of interest, or was it a combination of both?
Yeah, but probably a combination of both. Like obviously when you live in you live in your body and you're looking at yourself in the mirror every day, you don't necessarily notice the changes quite so much, which actually is where having those photos over time, you can really see that. You can really see the change in yourself that you can't necessarily just by looking in the mirror. But yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have people come up to you and go, "Well, why, looking good? Like you've lost a lot of weight." And it's always much harder to notice the change yourself, but generally I really do think I feel a lot better than I did before, which is probably in the long run that the more important one.
100%. I suppose a lot of people they just go on look and not necessarily on feel. But it's very, to be fair, it's quite easy to lose weight, but it's a lot harder to feel good about yourself at the same time and try and keep those you know, two brackets or two barriers of being roughly, the same height, because you don't want one being higher than the other. Just trying to get an equilibrium. That'd be fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, and one last question for you. What would you say to someone that is sitting on the fence? So sitting on the fence, thinking about working with me.
Yeah, and give it a try. Like, do the for me, like the 5-day challenge that we did to start it was, I noticed a change in terms of, I even lost some weight in that first sort of those first few days, and that was like the kick started me into doing everything else, and the fact that like one of the first things we did was that the intermittent fasting piece that actually then for me has become like much more sustainable, and I think is probably the thing that for me underpins everything. That I feel a lot better through doing it, and that means I can sort of limit what the calories in are, and at the same time, like keeping it, throwing in the exercise and eating healthy and everything else, and that's to me is what makes it feel sustainable. So what's the harm in trying? If you don't try, you're never going to find out. And it's I didn't think I'd when we started speaking about getting down 10 kilos, I didn't think I thought it was going to take quite a long time to do it, but it turned out that it was actually just a few small changes without massively changing my life or impacting my life, and managed to do it. So give it a go.
And I think this might lead on to quite a few things that one of the big excuses, but especially when talking to you, like in terms of time, a lot of people say they don't have time. What would you say to the chaps out there that are busy lads like yourself, and they've got work, they've got young families? What would you say to chaps that don't have enough time?
Yeah, it's you can always find time, right? Like how many? I know that I've used that excuse before, but if you sat on a sofa for an hour watching TV in the morning with your kids, like can you come to some sort of agreement where you're both, so my wife and I, we like alternate exercise. We go for a run every morning, each of us. So if she goes one day, I go the next day, and if we miss a day, then tough. You've got to wait another 2 days until you go. So it's a good sort of, it's half an hour to get out and do a 5K run, but it'll make you feel really good. And time for things like food and bits like that. If you look at these these recipe boxes and things like that, there's always a deal on them, so they're not expensive, and you can sort of come up with something easy. So it doesn't take a lot of time. It's just maybe takes a bit of planning, a bit of commitment. But it's if I can do it, I mean, I'm not exactly I'm pretty lazy. I'm not up at 5 a.m. doing exercises. I'm up when my kids are up, and I'd be in bed an hour later if I could. It's just about a bit of planning and a bit of motivation, and instead of sitting there for another half an hour, get up and go and do it.
Very wise words. It's just, I don't think there's any good time to start, or any, people have, I suppose, excuses that if they, it's just about making priorities, and people's health. When being a father and being busy professional, your health should be on the top of your priorities, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think I have a better work day if I go for a run in the morning and I sort of feel better in myself. Like I have a more productive day. So I think it's sort of one thing does feed off another. It's quite easy to get into that sort of eating badly, feeling lethargic, and then that can impact your sleep and then how you're feeling the next day, and that creeps into your work life. So I think I've noticed generally eating more healthily, doing more exercise, and being a bit lighter has just made me a bit more productive as well, I think.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much for coming doing a Q&A. It's great for, I suppose it's, when you see someone's made great results, being really disciplined and being able to understand exactly where I'm coming from in order to help some people. Hopefully, when a lot of people watching, maybe live or at a later stage, they understand how everything works and how it can work for you and how you can get results and be sustainable. So, thank you very much for joining me, Andrew. And
no worries.
Yeah, do you want to fire me any questions at the end, or are you okay?
No. It's no. I think it's just I'm keen to see just keep it there. It's great. I feel a lot better, and so thank you for the help.
You're very welcome indeed, sir.
Well, cheers, mate. I will speak to you soon.
Yeah, take care. All right, Andrew. Well, take care. We'll speak to you later on in the week, I'm sure. Making sure you keep up to work. So fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant.
Take care.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you very much, Andrew.
Cheers. Bye.